Today I'm going to show you how to make a product commercial at home in your own living room, and it's easier than you might think. Let's get to it. First, we got to clear some space. Alright, so we've made some space. If you couldn't tell, the ad's going to be on this cider here. It's from a local brewery. Definitely not an official ad by any means, but I have a little setup here, and let's go through that real quick. So we have an Amaran 60XS blasted on the blue screen here to give that some light. It's probably not perfect lighting, but it'll do the trick for our job. It might just make keying a little more difficult later. What we have lighting the product itself is actually the Amaran 200XS. It's good light. We got a small rig light dome on it, and so far I have the grid on, but I might take it off depending on the lighting on the product. Both are, so the 60X and the 200X are relatively cheap lights. I do recommend them. If not, you can always look at some cheaper brands. You know, it's about being resourceful of what you've got. We got the product here. I think I have it on just a candle, and we have it on this rotating thing here. It was like $20 on Amazon. I think we'll actually go the opposite way there. And then I got this spray bottle. It's just filled with water. I don't have any of that glycerin mixture that people use, but water seems to do the trick too. So I'm just gonna spray this down, make sure there's no hair on it. Give it a nice spraying, and this is just gonna fake the really cold effect, like it's been in the freezer or something like that. Just gives it a nice look in the shot. So with that turning, we're gonna get the camera set up, and I'm gonna show you what our shot looks like. Let's do that now. Okay, just to make the 6-second promo, we're doing a pretty simple shot. It's just gonna involve a bit of masking to get rid of the candle underneath it. Obviously, it might be more ideal to have something less grand holding up the can, but we got to work with what we got. So we're grabbing this shot in 60 frames per second and 24 frames per second. Just so I have options in the edit, I'll probably use the 60, but I might like the motion blur better in the 24, so I might use that instead. We'll figure it out in the edit. But it's a simple shot. It might feel underwhelming when you're filming it, but trust me, if you're creative in the edit, you can really make a boring shot like this into something epic, which is what we're going to be doing today. Let's grab those two shots and move right into the edit. Today I'm using DaVinci Resolve, the free version, so anyone can follow along. Once we have our footage imported, we need to find the portion of the footage we want to use and bring it into the timeline. Next, we're going to move to the color tab, and in my case, I shot in log profile, so I need to do a color transform to Rec 709. This will make keying easier. I'm then going to do a rough mask and key out the can. Once we've done that, we're going to move back to the edit page and add a solid color under our clip. I chose an orangey peach color, and you might be able to get away with just this, but I think it looks pretty boring. So we're going to go to Envato Elements, which is pretty good price for what you get. We're going to find some elements we can use to spice up this edit. I found a twirling leaves video element, so I think I'm going to use that as a primary piece to this edit. I'm going to bring the leaves into the timeline, and I'm going to make a speed adjustment to roughly 300%. We're then going to manipulate the can clip, and we're going to make sure the logo is shown exactly when we want it to. Once we've done that, we're going to start adjusting some zoom keyframes. We're then going to make it start nothing and eventually zoom to fill the screen. To make this a little more engaging, we're going to change the position a bit, add some keyframes there. And you guessed it, we're going to do the same thing for rotation too. Then we're going to go in and we're going to smooth out the keyframes for all of these. You can do that by clicking the little graph icon. Your rotation keyframes, just mess around with them a bit and find something that really appeals to you. This is not about copying me exactly, but just learning the principles and experimenting. Next, we're gonna go to the end of our clip. We're gonna go into the color tab and we're gonna save a still. Then gonna bring that still in our timeline and use it for about 3 or 4 seconds. We're then gonna take our clip of the can and our leaves, copy them over to the other side of the still, and then we're gonna reverse them. After reversing them, you're gonna have to go back into the keyframes and adjust each one to get something you like. Remember, they don't have to be exactly like the keyframes in the first clips. You can mess around with them a bit to get something unique. Now you wanna take one of the clips of the leaves and bring it into Fusion. Don't worry, this is gonna be easy, I promise. We just have to use it as a workaround because we're using the free version of DaVinci, so we don't have access to the motion blur tool. So we have to make our own motion blur. And to do that, in the Fusion tab, we're going to add an optical flow node, and then we're gonna add a vector motion blur. And it's as simple as that. So now you just add those 2 nodes to the rest of your clips. And if you wanna get extra technical, you can keyframe the level of motion blur on the clips, but teach their own for that. Next, we're gonna add the jitter text option on top of the still. And we're just gonna mess around with the settings to get something we like. I'm gonna add some text based on the elements that are in the can, like the alcohol percentage and flavors that might be in it. Next, we're gonna make some final tweaks visually with the text or extra color grading. And then we move on to just adding some sound effects. In my case, I went back to Envato Elements and I grabbed some things that I thought would fit well, like some leaves, some wind, some bird sounds, just building out ambience to this ad. I found that music didn't feel necessary, but again, if that's something you feel like adding to yours, definitely do it. All right, and with that, here's the final product ad I made. I hope you learned something. I hope this gave you some value of some kind. If it did, maybe consider subscribing. Anyways, catch you in the next one.